Blood flows in and out of the heart every second of your life. And some of that blood, it needs to supply the cells of the heart itself with oxygen and nutrients. The coronary arteries supply oxygenated blood to the heart, while cardiac veins return deoxygenated blood to the pulmonary circulation loop. Uh, Two large coronary arteries and their many branches, they supply blood to the heart. Large arteries enter the heart on the left and the right at the top. They are called the left and right coronary arteries because they sit atop and encircle the heart looking like a crown. The right coronary artery and its two major branches, the marginal artery and the posterior interventricular artery, they primarily supply the right atrium and ventricle with oxygenated blood and nutrients. The left coronary artery and its two branches, the anterior descending coronary artery and the left circumflex coronary artery, primarily supply the left atrium and ventricle with oxygenated blood and nutrients. The cardiac venous system is similarly branched, often lying alongside the coronary arteries and their branches. Like everything about the heart, the cardiac venous system is composed of two parts, left and right. The left cardiac venous system, also called the coronary sinus system, it receives deoxygenated blood from most of the superficial veins of the heart. The right cardiac venous system is composed of the veins that originate on the anterior and the lateral surfaces of the right ventricle, and they drain directly into the right atrium. Now the smallest vessels, they are called venae cordis minimi. These smallest vessels, they drain the myocardium directly into the atria and ventricles. Well, since we are studying the blood supply to the heart, I will briefly introduce you to the myocardial infarction, which in common language is called heart attack. This myocardial infarction or heart attack, this is the irreversible damage of myocardial tissue caused by a blockage of blood flow to the myocardium, means the occlusion of a coronary artery. The myocardial cells supplied by that artery, they become oxygen depleted and they die or they become irreversibly damaged, and this is called infarction. Depending on the size of the infarct and its location, the severity of the follow on effects on cardiac rhythm and the integrity of the myocardium itself, they can range from relatively mild to fatal. Occlusion of a coronary artery, it may be from a blood clot, and this condition is called coronary thrombosis. This coronary thrombosis, it can follow the rupture of an atherosclerotic plaque on the vascular endothelium. Now, this is an important topic, the nerve supply to the heart. The nerve supply of heart, it consists of the nerves from the autonomic nervous system, and heart is influenced by both sympathetic and parasympathetic nerves originating in the cardiovascular center in the medulla oblongata. The vagus nerve, which is parasympathetic in nature, it supplies mainly the SA and AV nodes and atrial muscle. The vagal stimulation, it reduces the rate at which the impulses are produced, decreasing the rate and force of the heartbeat. So, you should know that the parasympathetic nerve supply of heart that consists of vagus nerve. Now, acetylcholine is secreted at its postganglionic nerve endings, and it will act on the cholinergic muscarinic receptors on the cardiac cell membrane, and this is how it decreases the heart rate and the force of contraction. So, in short, we can say that the parasympathetic stimulation of heart, it results in the release of acetylcholine, which increases the permeability of cardiac fiber membrane to the potassium ions. And this increased permeability to the potassium ions that results in hyperpolarization. So, a longer time is required to reach the threshold by the sodium leakage. And this effect, it results in decreased rate of SA nodal discharge. So, there is decreased heart rate, and also there is decreased rate of impulse transmission and decreased force of contraction. Sympathetic nerves supply the SA and AV nodes and the myocardium of atria and ventricles. And the stimulation, the sympathetic stimulation, it increases the rate and force of the heartbeat. The sympathetic nerve supply of heart that comes from T1 to T6 thoracic segments of spinal cord. Postganglionic fibers, they secrete norepinephrine. There are adrenergic receptors on heart, blood vessels, and myocardial muscles. These are alpha and beta receptors. Now, this sympathetic stimulation, it results in increase in heart rate and force of contraction of heart. So, there is increased volume of blood which is pumped into the vasculature, and also the ejection pressure is increased. Sympathetic stimulation of heart that results in the secretion of norepinephrine. This secretion of norepinephrine, it increases the permeability of cardiac fiber membrane to sodium ions and calcium ions. Now, this increased permeability to sodium ions and calcium ions that results in increased rate of SA nodal discharge. So, there will be increased heart rate. It also results in increased rate of impulse transmission and increased force of contraction. You can see the receptors in the cardiomyocyte in the contractile cell of heart. Sympathetic nerves act through B1 and B2 receptors on atrial and ventricular muscle. Increased cyclic AMP in the muscle increases the cytoplasmic calcium ions, so there is increased force of contraction. There is the increased rate of calcium ions ATPase, so the removal of the calcium from the cytoplasm that produces good relaxation. Sympathetic nerves deactivate troponin C, so they produced good relaxation. While increased cell metabolism provides energy for work. Any drug that increases the cyclic AMP will act like sympathetic nerves. For example, caffeine or the theophylline, which is present in black tea, they inhibit the breakdown of cyclic AMP, so they are cardiotonic. And then there are muscarinic M2 cholinergic receptors, and vagus nerve act through these receptors. In fact, the second messenger system of inhibitory G protein is stimulated. So they inhibit the adenylate cyclase, decrease the calcium ion in the cytoplasm, and decrease the force of contraction. And vagus nerve supplies the SA node and AV node only. Then come the adenosine receptors, which respond just like muscarinic M2 receptors. Let's now see that how the electricity is generated by our heart. Certain structures of the heart, together called the cardiac conduction system, these structures specialize in initiating and conducting the electrical impulses that induce your heartbeat, keeping it regular and strong in every part of the organ. This is the heart's pacemaker. In this diagram, you can look at the anatomy of the cardiac conduction. Actually, 5 structures comprise the cardiac conduction system, and these 5 structures are the SA node, which is the pacemaker, or you can call it a sinoatrial node. Then there is AV node, which is the arterioventricular node. Next is AV bundle, in fact the atrioventricular bundle. And the next structure, that is left and right bundle branches, and finally the Purkinje fibers. So dear, what is this SA node? You see a small knot of the cardiac muscle-like tissue located on the back wall of the right atrium, near where the superior vena cava enters the heart. In this small knot, the pacemaker cells, they look like cardiac muscle cells, but they have lost the ability to contract. The SA node cells, they initiate the electrical impulse that generates the heartbeat. Well, now if you move on to the AV node, it is a similar small mass of tissue which is located in the right atrium, but near the septum that divides the right and left atria from the ventricles. What is the function of AV node? Its function is to relay the impulses it receives from the SA node to the next part of the conduction system. And what is the next part of the conduction system? You know, it is AV bundle. AV bundle or atrioventricular bundle, it's a bundle of fibers that extends from the AV node into the interventricular septum, the septum which divides the heart into right and left sides. So the AV bundle transmits the
cardiac impulses. Where the septum widens, the AV bundle, it splits into the right and left bundle branches, and each branch extends down under the endocardium and then up along the outside of the ventricles. And these bundles, they also carry cardiac impulses. What about the Purkinje fibers now? At the ends of the AV bundle branches, there are the Purkinje fibers, which deliver the impulse to the myocardial cells, causing the ventricles to contract. Now, my dear, I tell you an interesting thing, that the word node, it is used in many different contexts, and not only in anatomy. In general, it describes a local connecting point of component parts, literal and figurative. So in cardiac anatomy, a node is a specialized type of tissue that looks like muscle and generates the electrical impulses like nervous tissue. Well, so I hope that I have made the conduction system of the heart clear. And because of this conducting system of the heart possesses the property of autorhythmicity, which means it generates its own electrical impulses and beats independently of nervous or hormonal control. What it means that it is not reliant on the external mechanisms to initiate each heartbeat. However, it is supplied with both sympathetic and parasympathetic nerve fibers, which increase and decrease respectively the intrinsic heart rate. Well, in addition to that, the heart responds to a number of circulating hormones, including adrenaline or epinephrine and thyroxine. Small groups of specialized neuromuscular cells in the myocardium, they initiate and conduct the impulses, causing coordinated and synchronized contraction of the heart muscle. So I hope that you have got a overall idea of the conduction system of the heart. Let me now tell you about the ion channels which are present in the membrane of a cardiac cell. You see, cardiac muscle is excitable by adequate external stimuli, responding by contraction. And not only this, but the cardiac muscle is self-excitable also due to the sodium ions leakage into the SA nodal fibers. Now, on this slide, on the right side, you can see the characteristics of a resting ventricular muscle cell. Like other excitable tissue cells, the myocardial cells, they also possess mechanisms to allow transport of various ions, for example sodium ion, potassium ion and calcium ion, in the form of channels and pumps, which are, you can see on the screen. Right, so let's look at these membrane channels. The first one is the ungated potassium channels. These channels are always open, and unless the membrane potential reaches the potassium equilibrium potential, a potassium efflux continues through these channels. So, what is the main point? That unless the membrane potential reaches minus 94 millivolts, an outward flux of potassium, it continues through the ungated potassium channels. The second variety is the voltage gated or voltage dependent sodium channels. Now these voltage gated channels, they are closed under resting conditions. Membrane depolarization is the signal that causes these channels to quickly open and then close. Because they open and close quickly, they are sometimes referred to as the fast channels. So, the voltage gated sodium channels, they are fast channels because they open and close quickly. These sodium channels have the same characteristics as the voltage gated sodium channels in the neuron axon. And once these sodium gated channels are closed, they will not respond to a second stimulus until the cell repolarizes. This last point is very important, that they will not respond to another stimulus until the cell repolarizes. Well, the next variety is voltage gated potassium channels. These potassium channels, they are open under resting conditions, but these are voltage gated potassium channels. Now depolarization is the signal to close these channels. They will be closing during the depolarization phase and will be closed during the main part of the plateau phase. They begin to reopen during the later part of the plateau phase and continue to reopen during repolarization. So we can say that the potassium conductance, it is exceptionally high under resting conditions, but this conductance, it decreases during depolarization. The conductance is at a minimum during the plateau phase and it increasing back toward the high resting level during depolarization. Now the final variety, that is voltage gated calcium channels. These voltage gated calcium channels, they are closed under resting conditions, and depolarization again is the signal that causes these channels to open, but they open more slowly than the sodium channels. Now here is your important point, that the voltage gated calcium channels, they open slowly, slower than the sodium channels. So consequently, they are sometimes called the slow channels. Now these slow channels, they allow sodium as well as the calcium to pass. So they are also called slow calcium sodium channels. The Calcium entering the cell through these channels will participate in contraction, and it will also be involved in the release of additional calcium from the sarcoplasmic reticulum. So here the calcium which is entering through these voltage gated slow calcium channels, it is performing two functions. It participates in the contraction and it is also involved in the release of additional calcium from the sarcoplasmic reticulum. If the fast channels they fail to open, the depolarization occurs via the entrance of calcium through these channels. I repeat again that if the fast channels they fail to open, then how the depolarization will occur? By the entrance of calcium through the voltage gated slow calcium channels. Here we are going to see the role of all these channels in the myocardial action potential. This basically is the action potential of the ventricular myocyte, and this sort of action potential that is also seen in the Purkinje fibers. So you can see that there are in total there are 5 phases. It is phase 0, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 and phase 4. Or you can see here, you see phase 0 is basically the rapid upstroke where the voltage gated sodium channels open. Now we actually are looking at the relation of the opening and the closing of different membrane channels in relation to the myocardial action potential. So what happens in the ventricular action potential, that in the phase 0 of ventricular action potential, the voltage gated sodium channels they open. What happens in phase 1? Now in phase 1, there is initial repolarization and inactivation of the voltage gated sodium channels. Also, voltage gated potassium channels they begin to open. Next is phase 2. So what happens in phase 2? Phase 2 is the plateau phase. Calcium ions influx through the voltage gated calcium channels, it balances the potassium efflux. So why there is a plateau? Because the calcium ions which are entering, they are balancing the potassium ions which are leaving. The calcium influx triggers another calcium release from the sarcoplasmic reticulum, and also it initiates the myocyte contraction. So my dear, this phase 2, the plateau phase, is very important. Why it is a plateau? Because the positive ions which are entering, they are balancing the positive ions which are leaving the cell. Next is the phase 3. Phase 3 is the phase of rapid repolarization where there is massive potassium ions efflux due to the opening of voltage gated slow potassium channels and the closure of voltage gated calcium channels. So in phase 3, what happens? There is rapid repolarization and there is a massive potassium efflux, and I told you the reasons of this potassium efflux. Next is the phase 4, which is the resting potential phase, in which high potassium permeability is achieved through the potassium channels. Now, my dear, we need to look at the action and the role of these membrane channels in the pacemaker action potential. And I told you that what is a pacemaker? You know, the sinoatrial node, the SA node, it is a small mass of the specialized cells which lie in the wall of the right atrium near the opening of the superior vena cava. The sinoatrial cells, they generate these regular impulses because they are electrically unstable. This instability leads them to discharge or depolarize regularly, usually between 60 and 80 times a minute. And this pacemaker action potential, it occurs in the SA and AV nodes. The key differences from the ventricular action potentials, they include the phase 0, phase 2 and phase 4. So what happens in the pacemaker action potential? Phase 0 is again the upstroke. In the pacemaker action potential, phase 0 is the upstroke where there is opening of voltage gated calcium channels. These cells, they lack the fast voltage gated sodium channels. So you see how interesting it is that these pacemaker cells, they lack the fast voltage gated sodium channels. So phase 0 results in a slow conduction velocity that is utilized by the AV node to prolong the transmission from the atria to the ventricles. Now, how the pacemaker action potential is different, that in phase 2 the plateau is absent, and in phase 4 there is slow diastolic depolarization. What happens in this slow depolarization? That membrane potential spontaneously depolarizes as the sodium conductance increases. So, when the sodium ions conductance increases, the membrane potential of the pacemaker, that spontaneously depolarizes. This fact accounts for the automaticity of SA and AV nodes. Look at the slope of the phase 4 in the SA node. Now this slope, it determines the heart rate. Acetylcholine, it decreases, and the catecholamines increase the rate of diastolic depolarization, decreasing or increasing the heart rate respectively. So, see my dear, this figure again is just explaining the role of ion channels in the contractile cells. You see, the fast sodium ion channels, they depolarize the cell, giving it a spike, right? And the voltage gated calcium ion channels, which are the L-type channels, they are responsible for the plateau in the action potential. This point is very important. You see that the voltage gated calcium channels, which are of L type, they are responsible for the plateau in the action potential. Now the potassium ion channels, and keep in mind that what I am talking about, this is the potassium channels, and these channels are transient channels and they are voltage gated potassium ion channels. And these are leaky. They are responsible for repolarization and they also contribute in the plateau. Now, what is the role of sodium-potassium ATPase? Basically, sodium-potassium ATPase revert back the ionic composition of the cell during resting membrane potential. Cardiac muscle, which is present in heart, it is involuntary in function and striated in appearance. Certain other properties of cardiac muscle you can see on the screen. There are almost 10 properties which are specified to the cardiac muscle, and these are functional syncytium, its rhythmicity and a peculiar refractory period, the ability of conductivity, contractility, and then it shows a staircase phenomenon which is called trap. It exhibits tone, follows the principle of all or nothing. It has a peculiar action potential, and finally the property of excitability. Now we will look at these properties one by one. So how does cardiac muscle functions as a syncytium? You see, when a group of cells, they function as a single unit, it is called functional syncytium. In heart, cardiac muscle fibers are separated from one another by intercalated discs which have low electrical resistance, and this allows free diffusion of ions. So when one muscle fiber is excited, the action potential spreads to all cells, exciting the whole cardiac muscle. So my dear students, according to this, heart is composed of two syncytiums, the atrial syncytium and the ventricular syncytium, and these two syncytiums, they are separated by fibrous tissue and they are connected functionally by the atrioventricular bundle. Now we move on to the property of rhythmicity. Contraction of heart at regular intervals without external stimuli. That is called rhythmicity. Now, what is the cause of this rhythmicity? You see, sodium ion, it is leaky to the SA nodal fibers that causes the depolarization, or you can say it causes the action potential, and as a result the contraction takes place at regular intervals. Well, next property is refractory period. A period during which an already excited cardiac muscle cannot be re-excited by a normal cardiac impulse, that is called a refractory period. There are two types of refractory period, the absolute and a relative refractory period. A period during which an already excited cardiac muscle cannot be re-excited even by a very strong cardiac impulse is called absolute refractory period. And the relative refractory period, what is relative refractory period? It's a period during which an already excited cardiac muscle, it can be re-excited by a stronger than normal cardiac impulse, and this period is called relative refractory period. Next property is conductivity. The transfer of cardiac impulse from the pacemaker, and here the pacemaker is the SA node. So the transfer of the cardiac impulse to all the cardiac muscle fibers, that is called conductivity. Well, the next property is contractility. Contraction of cardiac muscle due to interdigitation of actin and myosin filaments in the presence of ATP and calcium ions, that is called contractility. And I hope that you understand the mechanism of contraction. You see, the action potentials, it comes over cardiac muscle membrane, and then this action potential, it spreads to the cardiac muscle fiber through the T tubules. So when this happens, two events take place. First, the calcium ion, it diffuses into the cardiac muscle fiber during the action potential, and secondly, the calcium ions, they release from the sarcoplasmic reticulum, they also diffuse into the cardiac muscle fibers. So now these calcium ions, they catalyze the sliding, walking along process between actin and myosin, and this results into the contraction of cardiac muscle. Next property is the phenomenon of trap, which is also called staircase phenomenon. When a quiescent heart is stimulated after prolonged rest, first few contractions gradually increase in size and then become steady, and this is called the staircase phenomenon or trap. A state of partial contraction in the cardiac muscle is called tone. And of course, our cardiac muscle, it follows the principle of all or none. Cardiac muscle syncytium, whether it is atrial syncytium or the ventricular syncytium. Now, this muscle, it does not contract if stimulus is subthreshold, and it contracts with constant strength if the stimulus is at or above the threshold in intensity. And this is called all or nothing principle, or you can call it all or none law. As you already know so far that the action potential in the cardiac muscle, that is peculiar, and it consists of a depolarization, a plateau, and a repolarization. Depolarization is caused by the rapid sodium influx through fast sodium channels. The plateau, that is caused and maintained by slow calcium sodium channels, while the repolarization is caused by rapid potassium outflux through the potassium channels. Now, the final property is excitability. You should know that cardiac muscle is excitable by adequate external stimuli, and it responds by contraction. And even more important is that the cardiac muscle is self-excitable due to sodium ions leakage into the SA nodal fibers.